Franklin Delano Roosevelt served as the 32nd President of the United States from 1933 to 1945. He spent most of his term leading this country during some of our lowest times, such as the Great Depression and World War II, all while suffering from polio. FDR was a part of the 0.5% of those with polio who suffer from muscle weakness and inability to move. He specifically had trouble with his legs, making it difficult to stand or walk. Because of this condition, he frequently visited Warm Springs, Georgia, to relax in the therapeutic waters. Warm Springs quickly became known as Roosevelt's Little White House, where he continued to write New Deal programs and other legislation while trying to strengthen himself. During his term in 1936, Gainesville, Georgia suffered a tragedy when a tornado blew through the city, killing 203 people and leaving mass destruction in its path. It is currently ranked 5th in the deadliest tornadoes in America. The physical damage was estimated to be around $13 million, and injuries totaled up to more than 1,600 people in Hall County. More than 750 homes and buildings were either damaged or destroyed. An issue of Time magazine even mentioned that Gainesville mail reportedly blew all the way to Anderson, South Carolina. Due to Roosevelt's growing ties to Georgia, he stopped in Gainesville during his visit to Warm Springs 3 days after the storm. Standing on what had previously been the Hall County Courthouse steps, he delivered a speech detailing his condolences and promised for federal assistance in rebuilding this city. The Gainesville citizens took his speech to heart and worked diligently to restore their city. In response, there was a demand to memorialize Roosevelt's efforts as a token of their appreciation. In March 1938, a memorial was officially unveiled on the same spot Roosevelt had spoken to the citizens of their hardships. It sits on the steps leading up to the entrance of the new Hall County Courthouse in the area referred to as Roosevelt Square. The marble structure consists of Roosevelt as pictured on the dime, with his name and the dates of the rebuilding efforts on the front. The image and design of the dime was used as a way to remind visitors of his joint efforts in 1938 with comedian Eddie Cantor to urge Americans to donate a dime to his campaign in research for childhood illnesses, including polio. The backside contains the detailed joint resolution outlining the purpose of this memorial and what it officially commemorates. The clean and simple structure effectively mirrors the event being commemorated. FDR's speech to them was short and simple, but had inestimable success in inspiring those who experienced it. Similarly, this monument is not decadent and detailed. It stands as a simplistic reminder by maintaining Roosevelt's side profile as its focal point and the indentation of the dates to remember periods of history that cannot be erased from our minds or the city's history. On both sidewalks leading up to the courthouse entrance is the seal of the Works Progress Administration, further conveying how big of a role Roosevelt and his agencies played in rebuilding the city. When walking up to the courthouse or visiting other buildings in this downtown area, people will always be reminded of FDR's efforts. The only prolific controversy surrounding this monument occurred at its unveiling. Here, Roosevelt shared his Brother's Keeper speech, known for sparking controversy because within he compared Republicans to fascists and attacked Democrats and Supreme Court justices who opposed his policies. He also called out Senator George by mentioning economic spending power in Georgia was very low. Some historians argue he may have lost focus on the event due to recent war turning points and the upcoming primary elections for presidency. Because the speech ultimately took the focus off of what Roosevelt was being commemorated for, The dedication was not as celebratory as Gainesville citizens had hoped, and FDR left the city with decreased popularity. Those who oppose this memorial may hold this event as being responsible for their disapproval. Although it may have been disappointing, critics must keep in mind that Roosevelt had much more on his political agenda than many other presidents, and this event caught him at a time of peak stress. The memorial should be kept as a symbol of his dedication to all people, regardless of politics, who suffered through this natural disaster. Roosevelt has many other memorials, including some also in Georgia and around the country. His home in Warm Springs was converted into a museum and memorial, considering he spent a large part of his presidency and the final days of his life there. The FDR Memorial in Washington, D.C. was uniquely created to guide visitors through his 4 presidential terms. What sets the Courthouse monument aside from the others is how it commemorates one specific accomplishment of his presidency. It has a more intimate mood than others, and it stands for the way one city uniquely interacted with him during a grim and solemn period in their history. Today, the memorial's visitors are reminded of the legacy of Roosevelt because of the way it displays appropriate honor and gratitude for his visit and his optimism for the future successes of Gainesville, Georgia.